You ever have that one moment where everything just snaps? Where you look in the mirror and something inside you says, "That's it. I'm done." Not done as in giving up, done as in becoming unrecognizable to the version of yourself who settled, tolerated, waited. That moment, that 1 hour, can flip your whole life on its head. And the truth, it doesn't take a miracle. It doesn't take a year. It doesn't take perfection. It takes one focused, intentional hour where you decide to become the woman they can't ignore. I'm talking about the kind of hour where you stop scrolling, stop doubting, stop looking for permission. You shut the door, lock the noise out, and face the version of yourself who's been screaming to come out. The woman who's been buried under other people's expectations, timelines, opinions. The one who has claws beneath that softness, intelligence behind that silence, fire behind those calm eyes. You want to know why most people never make it. It's not because they're not smart enough, talented enough, pretty enough, lucky enough. No, it's because they never decide. They never choose to give 1 hour to the version of themselves that's got teeth. The one who walks in a room and doesn't need to raise her voice to be heard. She is heard because her energy speaks, because she's earned every ounce of her presence. There's a version of you that people can't unsee. A version that makes them sit up straighter when you speak. Not because you're loud, but because your clarity commands. Because you're not chasing validation. You know what people get wrong. They think transformation takes years, that you need to hit rock bottom, wait for some perfect day, or find some magical moment when everything aligns. That's a lie. What changes your life is not a year of planning, it's 1 hour of unshakable intention. 1 hour where you don't make excuses. 1 hour where you don't scroll, don't answer to anyone, don't dilute your focus. 1 hour where you stop playing small, stop giving your time to things that drain you, and start pouring everything you've got into who you want to become. That kind of hour, it's lethal, it's dangerous. Because it breaks the illusion that you're stuck. True strength, it reminds you that you've been holding the keys this entire time. You just haven't used them. Think about it. How many hours have you wasted talking yourself out of your own greatness, replaying fears, overthinking decisions, waiting to feel ready? But the woman who changes her life doesn't wait to feel brave. She chooses to act. She says, "This hour right here, it's mine. And I'm going to use it to start building the version of myself no one sees coming." Because the truth is, everything you want is on the other side of one focused, intentional hour. That's where it starts. That's where momentum is born. And that's where you become the woman they never saw coming, but now can't stop watching. Most people keep dragging around the older version of themselves like it's some worn-out security blanket. Safe, familiar, predictable. But if you want to change your life, really change it, you've got to be willing to become unrecognizable to who you used to be. That woman who doubted herself. Who said yes when she meant no. Who stayed quiet to avoid making waves. She doesn't get to come with you. You've outgrown her. And the scariest part, she'll try to pull you back. Because that version of you was comfortable. She kept the peace. She played it safe. She didn't take risks. But you're not here to play safe anymore. You're here to lead. To evolve. To intimidate your own excuses. And that starts the moment you look at who you've been and say, "Thank you, but I'm done." Because when you truly commit, something clicks. You start acting in ways your past self wouldn't even recognize. You move differently. You say things she would have been too afraid to say. You carry yourself with authority, not arrogance, because you've earned it. And yes, people will say you've changed. And you have. That's the point. If they don't recognize you anymore, good. That means you're doing it right. You're no longer available for the things that drained you, for the patterns that kept you playing small, for the labels they tried to put on you. You've rewritten your identity, and now, you're operating from a place of power, not permission. Everywhere you turn, the world is trying to distract you. Notifications, opinions, expectations, noise, constant noise. It's designed to keep you reactive, not intentional. Because when you're distracted, you're manageable. You're easier to influence, easier to silence, easier to control. And if you're not careful, you'll wake up 10 years from now realizing you built a life based on other people's agendas, not your own. That's why you've got to cut the noise. You've got to refuse it. Because the second you start protecting your focus like your life depends on it, that's when you start becoming dangerous. That's when your clarity becomes a threat. That's when people start to notice that you don't move like them. You don't follow trends. You don't seek approval. You lead yourself. And when you do that, when you unplug from the distractions and lock in on who you're becoming, you take your power back. You realize the time you thought you didn't have, you always had it. You were just leaking it into things that didn't matter. You were handing over your energy to people who never earned it. Your strength, you were exhausting yourself trying to be everything for everyone while forgetting you were allowed to be everything for yourself. You weren't born to be available for everyone else's urgency. You were born to move with precision. And once you start doing that, you stop being a follower in your own story. You become the architect, the leader, the woman whose presence says, "I'm not here to participate in your chaos. I'm here to build something that lasts." And people think it's about being the loudest in the room. That if you speak up more, shout a little harder, take up more space, you'll finally get noticed. But real presence, commanding presence, has nothing to do with noise. It's about energy. It's about the way you walk in without needing to announce yourself because your confidence speaks before your mouth does. That's what makes them turn their heads. That's what makes them lean in. Because when you know who you are, you don't need to perform. You don't need to prove anything. You don't have to fight for attention. You attract it without trying. It's in the way you carry yourself. The eye contact, the posture, the stillness. The way you listen more than you speak because you're not desperate to fill silence. You own it. And when you do speak, every word lands with weight. Because you're not speaking to be heard. You're speaking because you have something worth saying. That's the difference. That's the kind of presence that people remember. It doesn't just walk into a room. It shifts it. And the reason most people never get there, they're too busy trying to fit in, to be liked, to be chosen. But the woman they can't ignore. She walks in like she belongs, because she already decided she does. That voice in your head. The one that keeps whispering, "You're not ready. You're not enough. What if you fail?" Yeah, that one. It's not truth. It's programming. Years of conditioning, doubt, and fear stacked on top of each other. And if you don't confront it, it'll run your entire life. Most women don't realize the war they're fighting is internal. It's not out there. It's in here. And until you learn to train that voice, to challenge it, to discipline it, you'll keep handing your power over to lies. You don't silence that voice by hoping it goes away. You silence it by proving it wrong, over and over, until it has no choice but to shut up. Every time you show up when it says you're not ready. Every time you keep moving when it screams at you to stop. That's how you build a new voice. One that works for you, not against you. And let me tell you, once that inner voice becomes coach instead of your critic, everything changes. You stop needing outside validation. You stop asking for permission. You stop negotiating with your potential. You become solid, quietly powerful. And no one can talk you out of who you are, not even you, because you've trained that inner voice to recognize your worth, your strength, your discipline. That's how the transformation becomes permanent. You don't just act different, you think different. And the woman who thinks different, she leads different. She walks into every room already knowing she belongs. Confidence isn't something you're born with, it's something you build. And it's not built from compliments, attention, or applause. That kind of surface-level confidence. It shatters the second someone questions you. Real confidence comes from preparation. From knowing that when it's time to perform, you're not hoping. You're ready. You've done the work. You've shown up for yourself when no one was watching. You've sacrificed comfort for growth. And that quiet grind, that's what makes you unshakable. People see a confident woman and think, she's fearless. No, she's prepared. She didn't get there by accident. She earned every inch of that strength. While others were distracted, doubting, waiting to be picked, she was sharpening her mind like a weapon. Reading. Saying no to things that didn't serve her. Building herself from the ground up without needing anyone to clap for her. And that's the woman who becomes impossible to ignore. Because she's not seeking attention. She's already anchored. And when the pressure hits, She doesn't crumble. She doesn't flinch. She delivers. Because she knows she's not winging it. She's been preparing for this moment long before anyone else believed in her. That's what real confidence looks like. It's not loud. It's not arrogant. It's earned and it's undeniable. There comes a point when you stop explaining yourself. You stop overthinking every no and apologizing for every yes. You stop shrinking yourself to make other people comfortable. That's when everything shifts. Because the woman who says no without guilt and yes without fear, that's the woman who knows her worth. She's no longer trying to be liked. She's committed to being respected. And let me tell you something, you don't get respect by being agreeable. You get it by being clear. Clear about your standards. Clear about your limits. Clear about what you will and will not tolerate. That's power, and most people won't like it when you first step into that space. They're used to the version of you who put everyone else first. The one who always smiled, always said yes, even when it hurt. But you're not that woman anymore. That woman was tired, stretched thin, constantly proving herself. This version of you, she protects her peace. She makes decisions that serve her growth, not other people's comfort. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your boundaries. You don't need to defend your standards. You're not selfish for choosing yourself. You're strategic. You're focused. You understand that every time you say yes to something that drains you, you're saying no to something that could build you. So now you move different. You speak with intention. You choose with conviction. Because you know exactly who you are. And that kind of clarity is a threat to anyone who benefited from your confusion. You know what happens when a woman stops playing small. When she stops second-guessing her worth, stops apologizing for being strong, driven, relentless. She starts to intimidate people. And not because she's aggressive. Not because she's loud. But because she finally stopped diluting who she is to make others feel comfortable. That's when the whispers start. She's changed. She's too much now. Who does she think she is? You want to know the truth. That reaction says more about them than it ever will about you. What they're really saying is, I don't know how to handle her now that she respects herself. And that is the moment you realize. You were never supposed to be digestible. You were never meant to be the soft, agreeable version they liked. You were meant to stand out, to challenge, to rise. But for years, you were taught to minimize your edges, to be palatable, to be easy, be nice, be sweet, don't be too direct, don't take up too much space, make sure everyone's comfortable, even if you're not. And the moment you stop doing that, the room gets uncomfortable real fast. Because when you step into your power, it forces everyone around you to examine where they've been playing small. But here's what separates the woman who rises from the one who stays stuck. She stops caring who's uncomfortable. She doesn't flinch when they call her intimidating. She doesn't shrink when her growth exposes their stagnation. She understands that her evolution isn't meant to be approved, it's meant to be owned. That kind of mindset, that's what makes her untouchable. She's not asking for validation. She's not trying to fit into spaces she's outgrown. She's building her own table, setting her own standards, and walking with a level of certainty that doesn't need an audience. You've got to understand, when you truly become that woman, the woman they can't ignore, people will project their insecurities onto you. They'll tell you're too ambitious, too intense, too confident, because it's easier to critique you than it is to confront their own lack of action. Let them. That's not your problem. You didn't come this far to water yourself down for people who haven't done the work. You came to own your space, to walk into every room like you've already earned your seat. Because you have. And yes, the loneliness will creep in sometimes. When you stop people-pleasing, when you start saying no, when you draw the line and hold it, some people will leave. Good. Let them. You were carrying dead weight. You were exhausting yourself trying to maintain relationships that only existed because you kept abandoning yourself. But the moment you stop doing that, the moment you choose you, everything starts to align. Your circle gets smaller, tighter, realer. Because now, the people around you aren't there because they benefit from your weakness. They're there because they respect your strength. Don't get it twisted. Choosing yourself will cost you. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you approval. It will cost you some relationships you thought were solid. But the return? Oh, the return is freedom. The kind of freedom that comes from no longer asking the world, am I enough? Because you've decided, you are. Without the title, without the praise, without anyone's permission. And when you move from that place, you are undeniable. You don't wait for someone to recognize your value. You recognize it yourself. You don't wait for opportunity. You create it. You don't wait for doors to open. You knock them down. And every time someone says, you're too much, you smile and say, I wasn't built to be small. That's the energy. That's the shift. When you stop contorting yourself to fit into boxes you were never meant to be in, you start living fully. You start speaking with authority. You start trusting your gut more than the noise. And that makes people nervous. Because now you're not looking to be led. You're leading yourself. But here's where it gets real. This version of you, she doesn't get built overnight. She's forged through every moment you wanted to stay quiet and didn't. Every boundary you were scared to set but did. Every room you walked into unsure but chose to own anyway. Every time you were underestimated and still delivered. Every time you were told you couldn't and did it anyway. That's how she's built. Not in comfort, courage, in discipline. In non-negotiable self-respect. You become intimidating when you stop needing to be rescued. When you stop waiting for someone to see your potential and start owning it like it's fact. You're not hoping anymore. You're executing. You're not dreaming anymore. You're becoming. And every move you make is built on the foundation of one truth: you were never meant to be ignored. So let them talk. Let them misunderstand you. Let them get uncomfortable. While they're busy trying to figure you out, you'll be too busy building, growing, evolving. Because you don't have time to explain your greatness to people who are committed to overlooking it. They'll either rise to meet you, or fall away. Either way, you keep going. You weren't meant to blend in. You were meant to be felt. And when that energy walks into a room, everything changes. Because now they can't ignore you. You don't just wake up powerful. You become powerful by mastering the one thing most people waste without thinking: your time. The truth is, how you treat your time says everything about how you see yourself. If you give it away easily, if you let distractions rob you, if you let people pull you into drama, noise, and obligations that don't serve you, that's not just poor scheduling, that's self-betrayal. You're saying, my goals can wait. My peace can wait. My evolution can wait. But when you finally understand that your time is sacred, everything changes. You stop picking up the phone just because it rings. You stop replying to every text like it's urgent. You stop showing up for things that drain you. Because now you know what's really at stake. You're not just losing minutes. You're losing momentum. And 1 hour, one simple hour, when used with purpose, that can do more for your future than weeks spent in passive survival mode. That 1 hour of deep focus, of silence, of strategy, of becoming. That's how you separate yourself. Most people don't protect their time because they don't see themselves as worthy of it. That's the real issue. They think everyone else's needs, emergencies, problems, and approval matter more than their own blueprint. But the woman they can't ignore. She's not just busy. She's intentional. She knows exactly where her hours are going. She doesn't give time to things that don't multiply her. Her time isn't just on a calendar. It's on lockdown. That's why she moves with precision. Why she doesn't chase. Why she doesn't over-explain. Because every minute she spends is a statement. A message that says, I value myself too much to waste my life reacting. And people notice that. They feel it. You start commanding more respect, not because you demand it, but because you model it. You teach people how to treat you by how you treat your own time. You've got to look at your day and ask, where is my time actually going? Is it feeding the woman I'm becoming? Or is it keeping me stuck in the same cycle that I say I'm tired of? Because if your schedule doesn't reflect your goals, neither will your life. And this isn't about being busy for the sake of it. This is about being ruthless with your focus, ruthless with your priorities, because excellence doesn't happen in chaos. It happens in structure, in discipline, in choosing every day to give your best energy to the things that build you. And it's not always going to feel good. Sometimes protecting your time means disappointing people, saying no to things you used to say yes to, drawing lines you never had the courage to draw before. But that discomfort, it's temporary. What you gain in return is freedom, power, clarity, and the ability to execute without noise pulling you in 10 directions. Because let's be real, nobody is coming to rescue your schedule. Nobody is going to protect your peace for you. That's your job. And when you finally take full responsibility for where your time goes, you step into a whole new level of power. You start moving like someone who's not available for distractions, not available for energy leaks, not available for chaos that doesn't belong to you. You're building something, and every minute wasted is a brick you didn't lay. So protect your time like your life depends on it, because it does. There's a version of you, years ago, that needed someone. She needed someone strong, someone clear, someone grounded, someone who didn't flinch under pressure, didn't apologize for her power, didn't compromise her voice just to be accepted. She needed someone to look up to, someone who showed her it was possible to be bold, intelligent, fierce, and still lead with heart. And maybe back then, she didn't have that. Maybe no one modeled it for her. But now, that responsibility, it's yours. You don't keep waiting for her to appear. You become her. You become the woman that little girl didn't see but desperately needed to believe in. The one who walks with purpose, not just posture. The one who doesn't let fear narrate her life. The one who doesn't flinch when she says no, doesn't second-guess her worth, doesn't stay silent to be accepted. And here's the thing. Becoming her isn't just about confidence. It's about alignment. It's about choosing to live in a way that makes you proud when no one is watching. You show up every day, not to impress people, but because you know she's watching. You're watching. That younger version of you, the one who survived everything they said you wouldn't, she earned this moment. She earned your courage. And now, every time you speak with truth, every time you hold your boundary, every time you go after what's yours without asking for permission, you're healing her. You're proving to her that all the pain, the doubt, the uncertainty, it wasn't for nothing. You don't become unforgettable by being what everyone wants. You become unforgettable by becoming the one who never quit on herself. By becoming the woman who kept rising even when it was hard. The woman who didn't let fear drive her decisions. The one who didn't shrink to make others feel bigger. The one who looked in the mirror one day and said, enough. From this point on, I will not abandon myself again. This is legacy work. This isn't about today's likes or opinions or trends. This is about being the kind of woman who builds herself so powerfully that the next generation won't have to recover from the things you did. The kind of woman who leads by example, not by noise. Who shows other women, without even saying a word, that they can be powerful without permission. They can be sharp without apology. They can be soft without being weak. And the truth is, when you fully step into that woman, the one you were always meant to be, there is no turning back. You won't unsee your strength. You won't be able to play small again, even if you tried. Because now, you've felt what it's like to live in your own truth, to trust your own voice, to make decisions from power, not fear. And that's when you stop being invisible. That's when you become the woman they can't ignore. You do it for her, for the girl you used to be, for the woman you are now, and for the ones who are still watching, still waiting for someone to prove it's possible. Be the woman who does. Be the woman who is. So now you know, this isn't about luck or timing or waiting for the stars to align. It's about a decision. 1 hour, one choice to rise. Everything changes when you stop hoping and start becoming. When you stop playing small and start stepping into the power that's been there all along, waiting for you to claim it. No more hiding, no more apologizing. No more asking for permission to take up space. You give yourself that permission now. You are not here to blend in. You are not here to be liked by everyone. You are here to be felt, to be respected, to walk into rooms and shift the energy without saying a word. And that version of you, she's not out of reach. She's already inside you, waiting for you to stop doubting, to stop delaying, and to start owning every part of who you are. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need a crowd. You need conviction. You need that fire in your gut that says, I'm done shrinking. I'm done waiting. I'm becoming. Give it 1 hour. One real hour. No distractions. No noise. No excuses. Just you and your future. And I promise you, if you give it everything you've got, if you truly show up for yourself, you won't recognize the woman who comes out on the other side. She won't be the same. She'll be unstoppable. She'll be unforgettable. She'll be the woman they can't ignore.